Chapter 61, Hunting Yag 1. In Glory, the member limit in a group is 10. Each party member can create their own party with a limit of 10 parties in a group. After Yishu joined the party, he saw that there was exactly 10 members in the party. He recognized the majority of them: Blue River, Bound Boat, Flower Lantern, Thundering Light, Lunar Grace, Returning Cloud. They all knew each other from before, so they weren't unfamiliar with him and all went up one by one to say hello. He hadn't seen the other three before: Blowing Clouds, Spitfire Class, Endless Flow, Launcher Class, and one that you could tell was vulgar just from the name: Groping Haven, a cleric. TLC, Sacred Light Gropes You. Blue River introduced them one by one. There were 2 other parties with 20 people, but Blue River didn't trouble him with them. Actually, if they only wanted to kill the Blood Gunsman Yag, then a single 10-person party was more than enough. This time, they brought 30 people, which told the difficulties of the main problem: kill-stealing the wild boss. It could even be said that Blue Brook Guild brought out all of their elites to this battle. All 30 of them could be found at the very front of the 10th server's current level leaderboard. Yishu glanced over everyone and then suddenly said, "Did I take 1000 Creations position?" Blue River was startled. He didn't think that Yishu was attentive to this degree. It was true. 1000 Creations was originally called over to get ready to hunt Bloodgunner Yag, but then he just happened to meet Lord Grimm. Blue River felt that this was another chance to make things clear and simply said, "Don't worry about him. We go on our own business." When did the Bloodgunner respawn? Yishu asked Blue River. We received the info 5 minutes ago, so we immediately gathered all of these brothers. And after a short while, we hurried over, Blue River said. We need all of these people? Yishu laughed. Even for kill-stealing, they didn't need this many people. With so many people surrounding the target, many people didn't even have a place to put out damage. It's to prevent any incidents, Blue River messaged. Yishu knew that this wasn't to prevent anything the boss would do, it was to protect them from other people. The most terrifying aspect in the game would never be NPCs. It would always be the players. If we were able to receive the info, then I'm sure Herb Garden and Tyrannical Ambition have also received it, Blue River said. Besides fighting over dungeon records, the 3 great guilds also paid attention to wild boss records. The guild had already reminded them of the importance of the wild boss records long ago. They're already here. Yishu turned his viewpoint and looked left and right. He discovered that not far from them, there was another crowd of players wildly rushing. They were clearly running in the same direction as Blue Brook Guild's troops. Minnesota, Blue River turned his viewpoint and saw it too. He vaguely identified a few names, they're from Herb Garden. Yishu couldn't help but worship him. He looked at some of these IDs and they all looked the same to him. For Blue River to actually be able to recognize these names, he deserved to be called an experienced rival. They were quite familiar with each other. When Blue River recognized the other side also recognized Blue Brook Guild. Blue River quickly received a message from Herb Garden's 10th server guild leader Plantago Seed. Old Blue, if you have any inner quality to you, then you can clearly see that we've arrived here first. Both sides knew Bloodgunner's location. Currently, Herb Garden was clearly closer to it. Their levels and equipment were about the same. Blue Brook Guild's hopes to take the lead weren't great. Get lost, Blue River replied. Wild bosses were never first come first serve, but Plantago Seed loved to say such nonsense. How many people did you bring? Plantago Seed asked. Around the same as you, Blue River said. Wanna team up? Plantago Seed said. What do you mean by team up? You and I have both arrived, so Tyrannical Ambition shouldn't be far behind. We both send a few players out to block them. And then we both rely on our own power to split the boss. How about it? Okay, Blue River replied without thinking the matter through. How many people? Half. Okay. After half a minute. Where are your people? Plantago Seed asked. Yours, Blue River replied. I've chosen them, I'm waiting for you. I'm the one waiting for you. Another half a minute of silence. It looks like you don't trust me. I'll go look to team up with Tyrannical Ambition then, Plantago Seed said. Go ahead. Actually, I've already come to an agreement with Tyrannical Ambition. They're in front waiting to ambush you. Be careful, Blue River replied. Plantago Seed didn't send another message. Both felt helpless. This wasn't the first time they had met. The three great guilds had fought with each other for many years, so they all understood each other. If they truly wanted to cooperate, then they always tore at each other. It wasn't possible for them to reach a conclusion in these few words. None of them trusted each other. It could be seen that in these few years, they weren't lacking any fighting, dueling, or causing havoc amongst each other. Blue Brook Guild was currently a bit slower than Herb Garden, but that small amount didn't count for anything. Even if Herb Garden arrived there first, they might not immediately pull it and fight. If they were attacked from behind, what would they do? Don't look at how their messages to each other were so friendly. If they truly wanted to fight, they wouldn't show any mercy. Games were like this, happy and painful. The two crowds maintained their distance and they reached the Blood Gunners' location one after another. However, when they got there, another crowd of players were already standing there. Tyrannical Ambition's players were unexpectedly even faster than them. Except Tyrannical Ambition still hadn't acted. At this moment, there were a crowd of unknown players battling the Blood Gunner. But with just a look, it could clearly be seen that these were just random parties who just happened to discover this boss, trying it out. Blue River looked for a bit and then decided, they're courting death. Blood Gunner Yag was covered in a white leather armor. Its ash-colored face didn't show any expression. Clearly, it was also an undead monster. It held a revolver in its hands and it moved incomparably quickly, running around everywhere and firing. At that instant, the crowd of randomly put-together players were all hit and cried out in terror. They had no way to resist and the hunters became the prey. Tyrannical Ambition had arrived long ago, but they just stood on the side, quietly watching the scene. They stood firmly just outside of the Blood Gunners' attack range. After Herb Garden and Blue Brook Guild arrived, they acted the same as Tyrannical Ambition. They didn't care about whether these players lived or died. They didn't even look at the Blood Gunner, their attention was all focused on each other. Seeing that the other two guilds had arrived, someone from Tyrannical Ambition quickly walked out and headed towards Blue Brook Guild. Does he want to negotiate with us? Blue River silently thought. He couldn't help but look at Herb Garden. They weren't moving either and looking at their stance, they were probably paying attention to that Tyrannical Ambition player who was walking towards Blue Brook Guild, too. That player eventually walked over. Right when he was about to go greet him, he heard that player shout, Lord Grimm, why are you here? To see the excitement, Yi Shu replied. That place isn't too good. Come. Why don't you come over to our place? As it turned out, this shameless person was Endless Night. Blue River's lungs were about to burst with rage. He was simply treating them as if they were air. Our place is no good? F***ck your place then. This entire area was a desolate graveyard. There were a few weeds, dead trees, crooked gravestones, and damaged coffins. Every place was the same. What good or bad? Chapter 62, Hunting Yag 2. Isn't everywhere the same? Yi Shu replied, appearing somewhat well-behaved. But in a bit, some things might happen there, so it'd be best to stay out of the way, Endless Night said. Blue River's heart couldn't help but thump. These words were obviously spoken for Blue Brook Guild to hear. Analyzing it on the surface, these words suggested that Tyrannical Ambition and Herb Garden had already joined hands. Blue Brook Guild would have difficulty negotiating with them. Oh, how come I heard that that place wasn't safe? Blue Brook Guild's bound boat spoke out. Psychological warfare. Reverse psychological warfare. Reverse psychological warfare. When the three great guilds competed, they often ended up in this situation. These annoyed Blue River, so he liked to remain still with his face blank and let others deal with the problem. Oh, so it's like this? Don't tell me Herb Garden is plotting against us? Wouldn't it be best for us to join hands? Endless Night said. To join hands or not to join hands, that was the question. Blue River felt his balls ache. He directly sent messages to both guild leaders. What are you guys doing? Both of you come over. Herb Garden's guild leader Plantago Seed replied, I haven't done anything. Tyrannical Ambition's guild leader Cold Knight replied, didn't I already send someone over? Both of them weren't cooperating. Blue River's head hurt. Truthfully, he hoped that all three could send representatives and let everyone just play rock paper scissors, but he knew that wasn't going to happen. Even if everyone agreed, in the end, they'd definitely turn hostile. The winner would be like a cicada stalked by a mantis, unaware of the oriole behind. The winner would just be waiting for someone to stab him in the back. He didn't know how many times this sort of situation had happened. In the end, all of the winners were extremely cautious and then suddenly tossed from side to side repeatedly by everyone. What had originally been agreed on was the same as no agreement. What was the point in wasting that time? The three great guilds all paid a lot of attention towards their outer image. Their words held enormous weight and their reputation was outstanding. But when the three competed, whatever despicable, shameless methods existed, all came out. Trust and promises were all the same as floating clouds. All because their true interests laid in winning against the other competitors. Even if everyone agreed that whichever side did the most damage was the winner, Blue River wouldn't dare trust their word. He did trust that once one side fell behind, that side would definitely cheat them. He knew that every time they hunted a wild boss, a lot of players would die. In this instant, Blue River cherished his memories of dungeons. Comparing them with wild bosses, no matter how difficult the dungeon was, they all felt so comforting. They never had any sincere cooperation with each other. They would only scout each other out or guard against each other. This was the relationship between the three great guilds. Seeing that Endless Night was still chattering on, Blue River was ready to pull out his sword. In fact, when he called out for the two guild leaders to come, he didn't have any good intentions either. In any case, everyone was shameless, so the two didn't dare come over and stayed where they were. The two didn't come over, only an annoying Endless Night. Blue River felt he might as well just kill him and be done with it. Everyone already understood their relationship towards each other anyways. But he suddenly heard Yishu say, isn't that 1,000 creations? Blue River heard this and was startled. He turned around to look. One player, with magical fluctuations under his feet, carried a battle pole and rushed forward without saying anything to smash at the boss. Blue River didn't feel like taking care of him. He was just an undisciplined, unorganized individual. I'm going to help him. Blue River didn't think Lord Grimm would suddenly throw out these words and then rush forward. This was something that he couldn't control even if he wanted to. Hey, why are you running? I'm not done talking. Endless Night still talked. Blue River suddenly pulled out his sword with a sword draw and slashed towards that guy. He didn't know how, but Endless Night had already prepared for this and rolled backwards, avoiding the sword. Oh, so the magnificent guild leader sneak attacks, Endless Night mocked. Blue River moved. Immediately, several players beside him were about to rush forward and act, but Endless Night had already escaped. Tyrannical Ambition also immediately had people approach, so Blue Brook Guild immediately withdrew. They didn't want to clash with Tyrannical Ambition. Herb Garden was still beside them. The three great guilds restricted each other. Intertwined, none of them dared to act blindly without thinking. While they were stuck in a stalemate, more players died fighting in the fields. One party, which was originally a 10-member party, had already fallen to 5. Half had died. Why are you all standing there watching? Hurry up and kill. After Lord Grimm rushed close, Yishu heard these 5 members yell. They clearly didn't understand the situation and didn't understand these three great guilds' entanglement. But no matter how entangled these three great guilds were, these 5 were destined to die. If they were unable to kill the Blood Gunner, they'd die. If they killed the Blood Gunner, they'd die an even worse death. The three great guilds didn't act out against them because they belonged to the former. They didn't have the strength to kill the Blood Gunner. Join the party. At this moment, the 5 yelled to 1,000 creations. 1,000 creations was the 6th player on the field that joined the fight. They immediately sent him an invite, but that guy actually ignored it. I'm coming in. After Lord Grim rushed to the front, Yi Shu yelled while swiftly leaving Blue River's party. What is he thinking? Blue River was a little lost. Lord Grim rushing forward made him lost. Then, he suddenly left the party. Seeing that he wanted to join that random party made him even more lost. If Lord Grim is killing the boss, are we going to steal or not? Bound Boat suddenly said. Blue River stared blankly. Could it be that this guy wanted to use the fact that each of the great guilds regarded him highly and wouldn't steal the boss from him? This thought was rather naive. Although the three great guilds all regarded him highly and were willing to back down on many issues, this was only when the three great guilds took the initiative to. But at this moment, he was the one to take initiative and use the three great guilds' intentions to force them to retreat. This was a completely different situation. No one would be willing to accept this sort of coercement, to say nothing of the three great guilds. Although they were cautious, modest, and respectful on the outside, if you schemed against them like this, who would be able to take this? Thousand creations maneuvered around everywhere, waiting for an opportunity. The 5 players were basically being chased and attacked by the Blood Gunner. But once Lord Grim entered the fray, everything immediately changed. The fast-moving Blood Gunner had unexpectedly been accurately captured by him. With a sky strike, the Blood Gunner had already been knocked into the air. This was an attack that Thousand Chances hadn't found the opportunity to perform, even after he had joined the battle for so long. Falling Flower Palm. The Blood Gunner was blown away. This was a wild boss and was even stronger than hidden bosses. Sky Strike hadn't knocked it very high into the air. If it was someone else who had executed Falling Flower Palm, then it might have even been a problem for them to complete the aerial attack. The blow-away effects would be increased in an aerial attack. The higher up they were, the greater the increase. Because the Blood Gunner hadn't been knocked up very high, the additional effects from the aerial attack were already the limit. His figure shook and suddenly, 2 Lord Grims appeared. One was in the original place, while the other had flashed behind the Blood Gunner. Shadow Clone Technique. The body behind the Blood Gunner was obviously the real one. He immediately grabbed the Blood Gunner and threw. Grappler Skill, Fling. The Blood Gunner was once again thrown away. Herb Garden's players were suddenly in a commotion. Why was this Blood Gunner getting closer and closer to them? Chapter 63, Hunting Yag 3. The Blood Gunner's aggro obviously couldn't run onto Herb Garden. In fact, up until now, it hadn't taken a lot of damage. After taking 3 hits from Lord Grim, Sky Strike, Falling Flower Palm, Fling, its aggro had already ignited onto Lord Grim. Once it was thrown to the ground, it didn't fall down. It rolled away and had already gotten up. This skill was called Quick Recover. It was a common passive skill similar to Swift Run and Roll. After learning it, it could be used. The moment the user fell onto the ground, the user would immediately use a roll. In this way, the user wouldn't fall down and would instead directly flip over. This skill required a certain amount of technique to use. When the user touched the ground, the user had to immediately use a roll to quick recover. There were also a few skills where quick recover didn't work. For example, the Battle Mage's Circle Swing, the Grappler's Back Throw, and the Sharpshooter's Punisher all negated the quick recover skill. The Blood Gunner could also quick recover, but it only now had a chance to. At this moment, after eating 3 of Lord Grim's attacks, it directly rolled over with a quick recover and raised its gun, ready to shoot. A gun sound rang out and the Blood Gunner's right hand, which held the gun, moved backwards. Following the spark that sprayed out from the gun muzzle, a second gun sound rang out. Minnesota, an Herb Garden player cried out in fear and immediately crouched down. The bullet scraped by his head. Then, he heard a second sound, Minnesota, from behind him. The second player didn't have time to dodge and the bullet hit him in the center of his forehead. Blood violently blossomed out and his life directly fell to half. Herb Garden's clerics immediately went up to rescue him. But at this moment, no one responded in time when the Blood Gunner suddenly CKED its gun towards them. But from Blue Brook Guild's point of view, they could all see it clearly. Just now, after Lord Grim flung the Blood Gunner, a gun somehow appeared in his hands. That first gun sound wasn't from the Blood Gunner. It was from Lord Grim's gun. This gun hit the blood gunner's right hand, causing the blood gunner's gun to swing backwards. Was this a coincidence? Or was it on purpose? Blue Brook Guild's players didn't know. But they did know that this shot was both an attack and a defense. It not only hit the blood gunner's hand, it also neutralized the possibility of the blood gunner returning fire. As for the headshot at the Herb Garden player, that was probably pure coincidence. But this coincidence still made Blue Brook Guild's players extremely happy. What is he trying to do? While everybody was jeering at Herb Garden's player who had accidentally been shot, Bound Boat frowned, unable to see through Lord Grimm's intentions. Is he really thinking of taking down the blood gunner in front of all of us? Flower Lantern also muttered. Both of them moved towards Blue River. Minnesota. An aerial circle swing, amazing. The two had just arrived in front of Blue River when they heard him say this. The two were completely helpless. Was this really the time to be admiring his skill? After waking up Blue River touched on this issue but also helplessly said, if the other guilds don't move, how can we? Bound Boat was startled. Could it be that this guy wants to use this time when our three guilds are restricting each other instead of impolitely kill stealing? Bound Boat said. Blue River looked left towards Herb Garden. And looked right towards Tyrannical Ambition. He saw that the other two guild leaders were also eccentrically looking left and right. Clearly, they were also like him in observing the other two guilds' movements. Sure enough, at this moment, none of the three guilds dared to advance forward. This was because whoever advanced forward would become the mantis preying upon the cicada. But there was also a large oriole behind them. No, two of them to be accurate. Blue River discovered this deadlock really was awkward. He immediately messaged Herb Garden and Tyrannical Ambition, you two. Are we really going to just watch this boss get split? Old Blue, you've finally learned treachery, Plantago Seed replied. I don't want to. It'd be better if your Blue Brook Guild hurried over and captured the boss, while my Tyrannical Ambition waits outside the range and keeps the situation under control. What do you think? Tyrannical Ambition's Cold Knight replied. Blue River was speechless. Herb Garden and Tyrannical Ambition didn't trust him at all. And the most important factor that influenced these two groups' judgments was that they didn't understand Lord Grimm's strength. They didn't believe that Lord Grimm could take down the blood gunner. But now that he calmed down and thought about it, he also felt that this was an issue too. Although he and Lord Grimm had set a dungeon record before and directly saw Lord Grimm's strength, although Lord Grimm relied on his outstanding skill to deal with the blood gunner, no one could solo the blood gunner at this level. Even a peak professional player wouldn't be able to, either. This was because their mana definitely wouldn't be able to keep up with the blood gunner's life as well as the player's DPS at this level. There was no way anyone could defeat the blood gunner with no mana. Even if they carried a full inventory of potions, they still wouldn't be able to. Just seeing how Lord Grimm put out damage at such a high tempo, they knew that beginner villages level 1 potions certainly weren't enough. Skills couldn't be used without mana. If a player couldn't use skills, only relying on normal attacks definitely couldn't take down the boss. When skills and normal attacks were compared, apart from more damage, the most important difference were their crowd control effects. For example, Sky Strike's knock-up, Dragon Tooth's short stun, Falling Flower Palm's blow away, Circle Swing's no quick recover throw. These sort of special effects couldn't be made by normal attacks and had an effect on controlling the opponent's movement. Thinking of this, Blue River suddenly calmed down. Sure enough, Herb Garden and Tyrannical Ambition were the greater threats. He couldn't help but glance left and right at each of them. The 5 normal players in the field were still regarded as dead people, so much so that Blue River didn't even think that Lord Grimm would associate with them. When Lord Grimm left, he had no way to prevent it, so he could only call Thousand Creations to come and join the party. Perhaps Yishu was the only player to notice these 5. These chain attacks, which these 5 players were incapable of doing, frightened these players dumbstruck. Lord Grimm suddenly used a circle swing, throwing the blood gunner in front of these 5 players. Still watching? Attack, Yishu yelled. The 5 players woke up and immediately went up and greeted the gunner with their weapons. Don't attack randomly. Listen to my commands. While Yishu yelled, Lord Grimm's attacks hadn't stopped from beginning to end. These foolish 5 players finally discovered something. Lord Grimm, this person is Lord Grimm. The 3 great guilds weren't the only ones that noticed Lord Grimm. Even players from Happy Internet Cafe were astonished when they saw Lord Grimm's famed name. These 5 players, who had invited Lord Grimm to join the party and watched Lord Grimm's fight with the Blood Gunner, just now noticed Lord Grimm's ID on top of his head. The Lord Grimm that completed 3 first clears in Beginner Village. The Lord Grimm that led Blue Brook Guild to a new clear record in Frost Forest. Berserker, Gore Cross, Lord Grimm said while using Dragon Tooth to stab the Blood Gunner. The Berserker didn't react slowly and immediately brandished his greatsword. While the Blood Gunner was still stunned and unable to dodge, he slashed and the tip of his sword drew a cross. A cross of blood swung out. Brawler, Sand Toss, Yishu yelled, and at the same time, a sky strike knocked the Blood Gunner into the air. Chapter 64, Hunting Yag 4. Brawlers belong to the fighter class and were street fighters that use underhanded methods to win. For example, Sand Toss threw sand, dirtying the target's clothing in a despicable manner. At this moment, hearing Yishu's call, this brawler immediately threw sand at the Blood Gunner. Yishu started sweating. He didn't think that this player was a complete noob. He immediately instructed, Sand Toss whenever it's off cooldown and throw sand at its face. This was Sand Toss's true usage. Sand Toss had a hidden effect that occurred when sand was thrown into the target's eyes. It had a chance to blind the target. Because it was a hidden effect, the chance to blind and the blind's duration wasn't directly shown by the system. However, through player testing, the lowest level Sand Toss had a 50% chance to blind and lasted 4 seconds. But when the skill was maxed, it had a 100% chance to blind and lasted 8 seconds. This effect was truly terrifying. In Glory's early days, brawlers ruled the world with Sand Toss. Whenever they encountered anything displeasing, they would throw some sand at their face. Under the effects of blind, the player's screen became pitch black, unable to see anything. Brawlers could use this opportunity to attack despicably and lowly while their target was in such a state. But nowadays, players found quite a few ways to deal with Sand Toss. The simplest way was that when the Sand Toss was thrown, the character turned his or her viewpoint. Look up, look down, look left, look right, any of them worked. Although Sand Toss damaged them, it was much better than that terrifying hidden effect. But the unequaled counter to Sand Toss was a type of accessory, eyeglasses. This toy was the same type of item as the mithril pendant that Yishu possessed. It had no attributes and was purely decoration. However, these eyeglasses could nullify Sand Toss's hidden effect, turning it into nothing but fleeting clouds. The most hated item among brawlers were these eyeglass-type items. Fortunately, NPCs wouldn't shamelessly wear eyeglasses as if they were refined people. Blinded NPCs would lose their sense of direction, unable to find their original aggro target. It might not even be able to figure out the direction to hit back players that bullied it. Yishu's purpose was obviously to let this brawler attempt to blind it. But who knew that that guy was too much of a noob? His Sand Toss was unexpectedly thrown at the Blood Gunner's body. Yishu had no idea how this guy got to level 23, 2 levels higher than him. Brick Buster, Yishu continued to patiently instruct this brawler. Brick Buster was the system's official name for the skill. Yishu was afraid that his noob wouldn't know the popular term for it, so he used the official skill name. Among players, this skill was known as brick. Correct. Found high and low, far and wide, the brick that people in street fights would often use as a weapon. In Glory, brawlers' bricks could be used to smash and throw, extremely formidable. Apart from this, the skill also had a special effect. It had a 50% chance to cause the target to be dizzy for 3 seconds. However, in order to create this effect, the brick had to be smashed onto the head. This brick also had a hidden effect. When the brick is a back attack and also hits the head, the dizzy chance becomes 100% and lasted 4 seconds. Yishu didn't have time to explain in detail to this brawler. Fortunately, the brick's dizzy special effect wasn't a hidden effect, so the skill tooltip described this. Evidently, the brawler noticed this point and his brick headed towards the Blood Gunner's head. Regretfully, instead of using his hands to directly smash its head with the brick, he threw it. The flying brick's damage was reduced by half. The chance to dizzy was reduced by half. The dizzy duration was reduced by half. Moreover, this brick flew askew. Idiot, pick up the brick and smash the back of its head. Another person acted on behalf of Yi Shu and directed. Brick's hidden effect wasn't a secret. The newbie brawler immediately responded sincerely, okay. Raging flames, attack, Yi Shu commanded the elementalist. Raging flames soared up. Yi Shu nodded his head, satisfied. He wasn't as noobish as that brawler at least. Facing the boss Blood Gunner, the low-leveled Raging Flames knockup was small. But Yi Shu had already controlled Lord Grim to follow up. Collapsing Mountain. Ghostblade use a Sword Soul. Sand Toss. Raging Flames. Ghost Slash. Yi Shu succinctly and quickly directed them. The 5 players, who had originally been regarded as dead players, suddenly discovered, was dealing with the Blood Gunner really this easy? Originally, they tried every possible way but they couldn't hit the Blood Gunner. Now, it was pretty much just a sandbag. Sword slashes, brick smashes, magic flashes, they all hit. The experienced players among the 5 saw that this was all because of Lord Grim. This guy would use his attacks exactly where they controlled the enemy. Moreover, his commands on when to use the skills controlled the enemy well. As a result, surrounding it, in this beautiful rhythm, they happily dealt damage to the Blood Gunner. The Blood Gunner wasn't powerless to retaliate, but its attack target was always Lord Grim. Yi Shu had already figured out its attack pattern, so he always dodged his attacks perfectly. In addition, the damage never spread to the other party members. In an instant, a chaotic party that had originally been regarded as dead bodies transformed into a well-coordinated party under Yi Shu's lead. The 5 players used their skills contentedly, but Yi Shu didn't relax a bit. He understood clearly that a single mistake in his play or a small misjudgment in his leading would completely reverse the situation. The 3 great guilds that had just been standing there watching were already completely dumbfounded. Each of them had majestically prepared dozens of players as reinforcement just in case. But at that instant, the 6-player party was hunting down the boss, yet they didn't dare advance. Each and every one felt ill at ease and glanced left and right. The more they looked, the more foolish they seemed. See, this is the leading I wanted to see, Tyrannical Ambition's Endless Knight yelled. What are you being so happy for? His guild leader Cold Knight said. So Lord Grim was actually this terrifying. Herb Garden always had Lord Grim in their thoughts, but they still hadn't seen his strength. Now that they had seen it, the guild leader Plantago Seed was completely stunned. If this continues, then the Blood Gunner really will be killed off by this guy, Blue Brook Guild's Flower Lantern said to Blue River. As a result, the 3 guild leaders began twisting strangely again. They turned in one direction, then in the other, observing the other 2's reactions. They all understood what everyone had to do at this moment. Kill off those additional players. Don't touch Lord Grim. If they attack Lord Grim, then lend a hand, Blue River commanded. Help who? Someone still asked. Idiot, don't tell me you think we should help those 2 bunches of bastards, Blue River said. Everyone understood. Take the empty spot in our party and immediately give it to Lord Grim, Blue River said. Everyone felt a bit solemn. There obviously wasn't any empty spot right now, but there would be one soon because someone had to die. The person that died would respawn in town and automatically leave the party. The 3 great guilds all began moving at practically the same time. Chapter 65, Hunting Yag 5. Oh, those people want to help, the brawler suddenly said. His voice carried a tone of pleasant surprise. Yi Shu sighed. This guy truly didn't understand the situation. These guilds weren't here to help. They were here to kill steal. They hadn't acted before because these guys weren't even worthy of being stolen from. The Blood Gunner would have eliminated them. Leave, Yi Shu said. What? The brawler was unable to make heads or tails of his command. The other 4 players were actually noobs too. If they weren't noobs, then they would have known about the Blood Gunner's strength. They wouldn't have mobbed around it and killed themselves. But they were better than that noob of a brawler, so they at least saw that the situation was far from good. Those guys over there didn't move early or late. When they saw that they were fighting the boss smoothly, only then did they suddenly move. Help? Providing help in the hour of need was called help. But right now in this situation, only God knew what they were up to. If you don't run, then you're looking to die, Yishu said. Then we fought for nothing? The party's berserker said. He noticed that there was something wrong with the situation. But if they ran now, then why did they fight so hard before? I don't know yet, Yishu said. The 5 players were all at a loss. But if you don't leave now, then it'll be too late, Yishu said while Lord Grimm's attacks continued. The 3 great guilds rapidly drew near. The long-ranged classes such as the gunners had already began aiming their guns. Run! Finally, one of the 5 players took the lead and ran. The 3 great guilds didn't care about these guys. Because the 3 guilds left some space to guard against each other, they didn't completely surround the boss. Seeing that these 5 were running, they didn't send people to kill them. Instead, they were all observing the other guilds' movements. Those were main opponents. All 3 guild leaders practically shouted at the same time, "Stop!" The numerous players urgently halted and all watched each other. The blood gunner was almost in front of them, but if they rushed up to surround the boss, then what would they do if the other guilds behind their backs raided them? All 3 guild leaders were pondering over this. This was because the battle on the field still continued. Those 5 players had ran halfway when they suddenly realized that Lord Grimm wasn't behind them. Looking back, they saw that Lord Grimm was still battling with the blood gunner. What's the meaning of this? The 5 players were puzzled. They just weren't familiar with the game. It's not like they didn't have a brain. This player told them to run, but he himself stayed. His behavior was odd, which made them unable to tell whether he was good or bad. As a result, they couldn't help but stop moving. Run farther. It's dangerous over here, Yishu suddenly messaged them through the party channel. But they haven't come to kill us. The noob brawler said. Trust me, Yishu typed out 2 words this time. These noobs were too clueless. If they were Blue River level players, they would have all been stunned to death. To be able to take the time to type during an intense battle with the boss, how fast was his hand speed? The noob brawler couldn't help but begin to run while calling out to his companions, "Hurry and run." The other 4 hesitated, but 2 of them followed the noob brawler. The other 2 still stayed in their original spots. They were still a bit skeptical over Yishu's words. They felt that he was trying to intentionally get rid of them. Seeing that the 5 moved differently, Yishu could only feel regret towards the 2 skeptical players. He didn't have the time to explain to them. His mouth had been used to lead them in battle the entire time. He also didn't have the time to type. The previous 2 words he had typed out were already risky and the 6 words before almost messed up his playing. Should the long-ranged classes try attacking? Blue River consulted his subordinates. They wouldn't advance forward yet. The long-ranged classes would first do some damage. We can't guarantee that we won't accidentally hit Lord Grimm. The long-ranged classes all started sweating. The blood gunner's speed was his forte. Fighting with it required high tempo and fast movements. At this moment, Lord Grimm and the blood gunner were flashing around everywhere. Who knew which target their attacks would hit? What is this guy thinking? Blue River said gloomily. On the other side, Herb Garden's Plantago Seed had already yelled out, "Hero! Add your party to my group. All of the drops will belong to you guys." Minnesota, Blue River secretly shouted at Plantago Seed's treachery. If the party joined his group, then the previous damage they did would count towards their group. He himself hadn't thought of doing this. Brother Grimm, join my side. The items are all yours. Blue River immediately stepped forward. He felt that he was somewhat closer to Lord Grimm. With the same conditions, Lord Grimm didn't have any reason to not join their group. Join my side. The rewards are all yours. I'll also gift you 20 white wolf bristles. Tyrannical Ambitions Endless Night also yelled. He thought that Yishu had some sort of special indulgence towards white wolf bristles. Lord Grimm, don't trust him. How many times would you have to run Frost Forest to get 20 white wolf bristles? Blue River immediately yelled. We have 20 here, Plantago Seed yelled. Bound Boat murmured to himself, could it be that this was this guy's true aim? Blue River also had a headache. Really, this guy? He completely didn't know how to talk things over with emotion. Did he really have to turn everything into a business deal? Lord Grimm still indifferently attacked the monster. As a result, the three guilds all felt that the price tag wasn't enough and continued raise the price. The two that hadn't run away were all already stunned. The "all of the items will belong to you guys" alone already made their hearts speed up. They had never heard of the other items that the three guilds promised. But if they dared to bring them out, then they were clearly valuable items. The two players were anxious. They were just itching to respond on behalf of Lord Grimm. But the two quickly recovered. Even if he agreed, then it didn't matter. Because currently, the party leader wasn't Lord Grimm. Joining a group or receiving a group invite were all the party leader's rights. The two immediately looked at the party list. The leader was that new brawler. The two immediately typed out in the party channel, "Come back." "Why didn't you two run?" the new brawler replied. "Run my ass. These few guilds are giving out conditions over here. They're letting us join their group. Afterwards, the equipment will all go to us and they'll also give out a bunch of valuable items. Hurry up and come back, party leader." The two excitedly spoke incoherently, scrambling to send the message. "So there's this?" The new brawler surprisingly understood. Once he heard equipment, his eyes turned into stars. He immediately ran back. The other two who had seen the message also excitedly moved too. The only one indifferent was Lord Grimm. The three great guilds leaders were all presenting their conditions to let him join their groups. In the end, after seeing the system prompt, they slapped their foreheads and recovered. F***ck, he's not the party leader. No choice, they had to turn to the other five seemingly non-existent players. Where'd the party leader go? The three great guild leaders began concerning themselves with those players that weren't even in their line of sight originally. At this moment, Lord Grimm suddenly spoke, "Everyone be careful." What? Everyone was at a loss. After Lord Grimm used a circle swing and threw the blood gunner, the blood gunner's body suddenly emitted a floating layer of blood-colored light. F***ck. It's enraged? The three guild leaders were all veterans. They had knowledge and experience. Are you joking? What's the life it? The hundreds of players that gathered there were all in shock.